Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sterling Live. My name is Caitlin Brower. I am Sterling's social media manager. We're coming at you on a Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern right now, but we usually come at you every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're just mixing it up a little bit this week, mainly because of our topic. We are, talking about the HR Technology Conference that's next week, and we're going to give you a bit of a sneak peek of how Sterling's going to be there. So I'm honestly so excited to be sitting down with Justin Jed today. He is Sterling's head of product. And again, I just said the topic, but we are going to give you a sneak peek into the HR Tech Conference next week. So Justin, thank you for being with me today. Can you go ahead and introduce yourselves to our audience?
Yeah, hi, Caitlin. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks to all of you for taking the time to spend with us here today. Sorry, we're not going to be together in person at HR Tech, but we're all adjusting and we're figuring out how to make it work. Yeah, so I've been with Sterling for 2 years. I head up our product organization, and that means I oversee both our platforms that we use to order services like background screening, like verifications, and as well as drug testing, including things like COVID. In addition, I oversee all of our fulfillment. So how do we actually ensure we're getting a great background screen, and how we ensure we're getting good employment verifications and high quality drug and health screening checks. I've been doing product management in the technology space for more than 20 years now. You can see some wrinkles, but they're hidden by the filter, Caitlin.
That's good. Those are intelligent wrinkles, so you know what you're talking about.
But have been doing enterprise software for a very, very long time. I did spend a lot of time at Microsoft, where I was a product leader for products like Windows and Xbox and the Bing search engine, the other search engine. I helped build and run another enterprise software company called Limeade. It was a health and wellness company, so very near and dear to a lot of the HR talent acquisition and talent recruiting teams here. And I've just really enjoyed my time at Sterling over the last 2 years.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And honestly, great guest. So I hope you guys are super excited to dive in to this conversation with Justin, because I know I am. But real quickly, so just a quick overview of HR Tech. It is next week from October 27th to October 30th. Sterling is a platinum sponsor. And we have our virtual booth. So if you are attending, please come visit our virtual booth. We have a lot of great assets. You can book meetings with us. And we do have a couple giveaways. So I'm going to showcase those a little bit right now. So a $250 American Express gift card if you enter our raffle within the virtual booth. And then also $10 Amazon gift cards for booking a meeting with us. So get to our virtual booth, check out our assets, book a meeting with us. We're so excited to see you guys virtually next week. But let's dive into what, attendees could see at our booth, could see from all of our assets, give them a little bit of a sneak peek here. Let's start with talking about returning to work. So you mentioned COVID health testing, when you introduced yourself, Justin, but let's talk about, the tech-enabled side of it. So with safety at the top of everyone's mind right now, how is Sterling making it easy and more efficient for employers to get their employees back to work?
Right. The core goal of our company has always been creating a safe, secure environment for our clients, their employees, and their customers. And that's the core of what we do. And frankly, Caitlin, that's what I wake up and we wake up every morning thinking about, when we go to bed every night thinking about. I think, with the pandemic, it's changed the lives for all of us.
Right.
A lot of us had to stop working temporarily, right? A lot of us had to figure out what it meant to work from home. And for a while there, while we were all distributed and not in the office anymore, we really had to rethink what it meant to work and what it meant to go to work. And a lot of us are able to work at home. I see you're working at home.
Yes.
This is my home office now.
This is it.
But not everyone has that opportunity, right?
Right.
And what we found in talking with a lot of our clients and looking at the market was there's a lot of people who have to get back to work. They have to go to the office. They have to go to the job site. They have to go to the hospital to administer care to other people. And what became very important for us and became very clear for us is, how do you ensure, using the best technology and the best tests available to us now, that when those people are going back to work and they're interacting with their fellow colleagues and they're interacting with their clients or patients or or whomever, how do we make sure that they're healthy? And how do we make sure that they're not going to be communicating this disease any further? And that's where Sterling really came in, and that's really where our technology and our platform really began to shine. Sterling's been doing this business for more than 40 years, but we have made significant investments in our technology platform. And what that's enabled us to do is automate a lot of the work that we do. You all know us well for automating background screening, and we can talk a lot about that. You all know us well for automating employment, education, and credentialing verification, and working with a lot of third-party networks to do things like drug and health screening. So when it came to COVID, it really fit very nicely into our existing technology infrastructure. And what we were able to bring to the table was not just a wide variety of partners that we already work with, the ability to integrate with new partners offering new services, and just adding in COVID testing as part of our story, as part of our technology offering and our product offering. So when we looked at COVID, what we saw from our clients was we've got to get a lot of people to work very, very fast. The economy has been rebounding, and we need to get people back to work. How do we get a COVID test? Where do we get a COVID test? Can we do a COVID test at home? Do I send people to a lab? How do I order them? How do I manage them? These are all problems and challenges that the HR leadership has been facing for the past several months. And we've worked very, very hard to make that a very simple process, allow it to be managed through our platform in an automated way, where I can maybe order a single COVID test, or I can order a bulk COVID test, and then allow our system to do what we do well, integrate and work with candidates to collect the right consents that we need in order to do these types of tests. Allowing them the scheduling tools to know where can I go in order to get a test, or allowing them to order an at-home kit. And making that very, very easy for them to do, and then managing it all through it within our system to then simplify the life, simplify any headaches for the HR leader who's in charge with getting these folks back to work.
So can you touch a little bit more on, so, we're kind of the whole management process of things, how are we helping these employers manage it end to end? Because it's a lot. It's something, it's very new for organizations to implement across the organization. And they might be thinking, wow, like, how am I supposed to do this from start to finish every single day, monthly, quarterly, yearly, things like that. So how is Sterling going in and helping these employers manage this?
Right. It's a great question. I'll start with a core principle of ours, which is making life easy for the HR professional, making life easy for HR departments, and not creating additional burden, right? So what we know is, in a lot of cases, people have been asked to do more with less, maybe less staff. But yet with COVID, we've added this whole nother set of tactics and activities that someone has to do that they've never had to do before, right? And our fundamental goal is, how do we make that very, very easy for them? And the way we do that is by automating all of the workflow, all of the steps involved with this process on behalf of our customers, right? So as opposed to dialing for dollars and figuring out what lab is offering this thing, as opposed to trying to figure out a relationship with a different lab who actually offer these tests. Oh, I heard you have at-home screening. Was there a better at-home screener provider than there is for an at-home screener provider? We've taken care of all of that, right? We have identified which one of our partners that can provide these types of tests and services. We've integrated them into our technology platform, and we've built simple workflows that can be managed using technology, using access to the internet and a browser or on your mobile device, where the HR professional, the HR leader, can go into our system and with a few clicks of a button, order these tests, right? Or these tests for one individual, or in some cases we have clients who say, hey, I've got 1,000 employees or more, and I got to get them all back to work. And I want to make sure they don't have any residual active COVID virus in their body right now. And so we make it very, very easy for them to order all of those things. And then our software does the rest of the work. We notify the client, the candidate, hey, or in this case, the employee, hey, by the way, you've been invited to take this active COVID test. Click this link, go into this mobile optimized website, identify who you are. Based on whether you're doing a lab or an at-home, you can schedule that. You can have it delivered to your house. That gets shipped off to the employee, or the employee is directed to a lab. And then those results are then sent back programmatically to us Somewhere between 24 and 72 hours, although we're averaging around 48 hours in terms of getting the results back so that we can get the result. We provide those results back to the employer, to the employee. We can, we know that they don't have any active COVID virus in their body, and they can get back to work doing what they need to do for the teams.
So that's great. And I think, pulling out of, the discussion so far, about like 11 minutes into our conversation, there's a couple of items, making things easier, simplifying the experience. I want to dive into simplifying the experience a little bit more. And I want to talk about, one of our services, our Client Hub. So recently, going through some enhancements, some refactoring. So would love for you to dive in a little bit here. So what were these enhancements that were made to our Client Hub? Why did we make them? What do they look like? Things like that.
I love talking about this, Caitlin. I can talk about this for 2 hours. Okay. I think I'll try to keep it to 10 minutes. It's been my belief, and it's the belief of Sterling, that when you simplify complex things for people, you're able to create value for them, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Background screening can be and has been historically a complicated thing, right? We have to collect all this information from the candidate. Birth, their social, where they've lived, where they've worked, all of these things. And so for the candidate themselves, we spend a specific amount of energy and time trying to make that data collection process really fast and really easy for the candidate, right? Mobile experience, I can do this on my phone. I can do it, right after I leave my interview. I can do it, while I'm driving my kids across town. I can do it, as whenever I need to, on any device, anywhere, anytime. And on that part of the equation, we've worked very hard to reduce the amount of time it takes for a candidate just to fill out the information, because that can be one of the longer parts of the process. We've got it to a spot where we can do the bulk of our candidate data collection process in a matter of minutes, right? So that's the first thing. Of course, then there's a whole other set of work that gets kicked off by the HR professional when they have to begin to review these orders, these background screening orders. And the kinds of questions that we would get is, well, where's my order? What's the status of the order? Is my order stuck somewhere?
Right.
Where's it stuck? How do I unstick it? Maybe there's a potential hit. Maybe there's a potential issue with the background screening that I need to take action on. Maybe I don't actually am the one who takes action on that specific part of the process. Maybe that's someone in my compliance group or my security group. How do I get that information over to them so they can continue to go through the process? So in analyzing all of the work and all the jobs that are involved with the background screening process, we've completely redesigned our experience. And we've designed our experience in a way that simplifies those activities, makes them visually appealing so that I always know what I need to do. We provide it in a way that almost looks like a recruiting pipeline, right? Where is this order in the process? How do I easily understand where it is? And then we have a new feature that we've launched we call case management. And what this allows you to do is say, hey, this order has a specific status. Maybe it's moving into a pre-adverse action state where we actually have to take action. We have to get some more information from an applicant. That isn't definitely what I do, but that is what Caitlin does. And so what we can do within our system is we can very simply now reassign those orders to other people so that they can actually continue the task and move it forward in a very simple, very easy way. Prior to this, and what we had seen in the industry is this was managed outside of the background screening products. This was done via spreadsheets. This was done via email. And it was creating a lot of time and a lot of headache. And it always ended up that somebody missed something. They didn't know they needed to do something. So we've encapsulated all of that activity into an application called the Client Hub, where I can see all the activities, I can see what alerts are, I can see what I've been assigned, I can assign to other people, and any of the actions that I need to take to help progress an order forward, we've made it simple from a user experience standpoint, and to the extent we can, we've automated that.
That's great. So one of my favorite things that, our employees talk about, when we're helping our clients, candidates, things like that, is that Sterling, we sweat the details. So you don't have to. There's nothing there. We're doing the sweating, whether it's hot out, cold out, whatever, we're doing it. So I do love it. I love that saying. I love, standing by that. So what details is Sterling taking on though, to take that off of a client, candidate? And then, and further on that though, like what are we taking on? But then also, how are we doing this to maintain effectiveness, but also accuracy? Because accuracy is super important as well.
Wow. Really great question. And there's so many details involved with the background screening, right? And there's so many deals that we do sweat. I love that. I think up front, the things that we sweat are everything that we can do technically to ensure that we have great candidate information, right? So that's a really important thing. If you don't have correct candidate information at the beginning, it has downstream implications on the quality of your background screen, right? So a lot of the details we sweat here are things like making sure that we have the proper social security number, making sure that social security number matches the candidate and the applicant, right? Making sure we have the right addresses and all the other data that you need, and looking for discrepancies there, and using technology, using automation, using intelligence to figure out and ensure that we have the right details and data. So that's one of the things that we really, really sweat. And that's that kind of goes back to this old term we use in the product and technology world: garbage in, garbage out. You don't want to have garbage in, so you want to make sure it's clean and pristine and really, really great. And so we sweat a lot of those details. As an order moves through its process, there might be additional information that's required. Maybe we need proof from an employer. Maybe we need proof from a candidate. And in the past, what a lot of folks have done is just emailed people like, hey, I need proof of employment, for example. I need proof of education. And that had happened over an email dialogue, or maybe that happened over a phone. And what we've done is we've automated a lot of that work. So the whole process of collecting additional candidate information is something we're investing in heavily in automating that. So we might tell an HR person, for example, hey, in order for this background order to be completed, we need these additional data elements. We'll tell the employer what those data elements are, but our system automatically goes back to the candidate, tells the candidate that we need this information, and the candidate can then, from their phone, again, if they need to, go back into our service and upload a document, answer a few questions, and keep on moving forward. A lot of the other details we sweat every single day is ensuring compliance, right? Ensuring we're compliant with all the rules and regulations that are out there. And there are a lot, right? And part of our job is to ensure that we're always staying compliant. And then, of course, our employers stay compliant. So things like the adverse action process. How do I start an adverse action process? How do I collect information from the candidate to confirm, whether or not we have the right information or if that information is incorrect? How do we give the candidate the opportunity to discuss an infraction, just discuss an offense to help drive our process forward in an automated way? And then using that to then get to a stage where we can actually provide you with that near final consumer report, which is the ultimate thing that our clients want, which is give me the list of all the information you have back. And we spent a lot of time looking at how our employers review that information, how they go through it, and creating a lot of new innovation around how do we allow them to go through that information thoroughly, but also quickly. So what's important? What are the details? What might be something they have to consider? What might be something that they need to review? Making that front and center for them to take action on to help them move through the steps themselves. And that's in addition to the Client Hub application I was just talking about. A significant amount of investment in improving what we call the report part, or we call it the interactive view, where I can see all this information, I can comment on it, I can pass in information, like I said, using features like case management to other people in an organization, so that it makes the whole process simple and easy. And those are just many of the small details.
Yeah.
We can talk for hours about all the things we're doing about automation and ensuring that how we collect data from all the thousands and thousands of data sources that we provide is automated. And of course, what that allows us to do is make sure the turnaround times are exceptionally fast. And that's something that we do day in and day out. Where are we getting our data from? Is the data high quality? Building integrations into those data services so that we both have high quality data, but we get that high quality data delivered quickly.
So that's a perfect segue into the next topic that I want to discuss with you. And you brought it up earlier, and you just mentioned integration. So listen, we're making enhancements, we're sweating the details. Let's now talk about our integration. So first question around them, and just kind of just like a generic question here. Why is now the time to integrate with Sterling? Why is it the best time?
we have invested a significant amount of time supporting a wide variety globally, the various applicant tracking systems our clients use. There are a number of choices out there to choose from when you're going to choose an applicant tracking system, and different clients will choose different applicant tracking systems for a variety of reasons. One, maybe it's very specific to their vertical or their industry,
right,
and it has specific features and functionalities for the industry. One is it's what they've been using for a long time. And in some cases, they have a homegrown solution that they use. And what we know is that HR leaders spend a lot of time in their applicant tracking systems. And the ability for us to integrate with hundreds of these seamlessly, right, providing data back and forth is one more thing that makes it easy for our HR leaders and our HR clients to simplify how they work, reduce the steps they require for them to move an order through its process, to move a background screen through its process, and in case make sure it's all living in one place. And so as much as we've invested in our own client hub, our own web-based and mobile optimized experience, we know that a lot of HR leaders spend a lot of time in these applicant tracking systems. And so the level of integrations, the number of integrations, and our ability to pass data back and forth between these systems is fantastic, and it makes their lives a lot simpler. And so if you are considering working with us, or anyone's considering working with us, and you have an applicant tracking system that you use, or you have a homegrown applicant tracking system, we have a variety of integrations that we've built and optimized to automate to get you up and running very, very quickly.
So we do have a comment on LinkedIn real quick, and I did want to share it with you because I totally agree with this individual. It just says, great insights. Thanks, Justin. So yes, thank you. You are providing great insights right now. So, but let's keep the conversation going. Let's get more great insights from you. Can you talk a little bit, so, talking about the integrations, can you talk about a little bit about our API?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so it's not just about integrating with all the applicant tracking systems that are out there. And there, like I said, there are many, many, many. And yes. We've built lots and lots of tools and lots of connectors to make those integrations seamless for our clients, right? So that we're not starting from ground zero. What we do know is that, like I said, some clients build their own applicant tracking systems, or they have their own homegrown solutions. And a lot of clients, specifically those in the gig industry where they're hiring gig workers, they have background screening as a core part of their process, right? The faster they can get a background screen, assuming great accuracy, assuming great fulfillment, but the faster they can get that background screening done and through, the sooner they can get that gig worker on board and working for them. And in many cases, these gig economy players have built background screening directly into their application. So, I play around with products all the time. And so I've actually applied to a lot of these things myself. I don't necessarily drive my car around picking people up or getting groceries, but I could if I needed to. But what's important there is that it's not just about having a connector to an applicant tracking system, it's having a really rich set of what's called APIs. And for those of us who know, it's an application programming interface. And that is a programmatic way for a company to build background screening directly into their system. And so we have built a publicly available, rich set of application programming interfaces that people can come and see, they can come and read, and then they can use that to build background screening directly in line with their hiring and recruiting processes. And that's something that we have available not just in the US, but we also have available globally.
Yeah. That's great. And I love seeing how vast the experience is too. Like, we are providing so many different things. And it truly is amazing. And all for, at the end of the day, to simplify this experience, to make things easier, to sweat the details like we were talking about. So a couple of weeks ago on Sterling Live, I actually sat down with Taylor Liggett, and we had a great conversation around identity.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about identity with you, because people will see that at the HR Tech Conference next week from Sterling. You will dive into it a little bit more. You'll learn a little bit more about it. But Justin, let's talk about it now a little bit. Give them, again, like we're doing, a little sneak peek. So we do know that the concept of identity has never been more important. But how has this importance shifted, given that some organizations are completely remote right now? kind of asking that question to yourself a little bit more now than ever. How do we know someone is who that person says they are?
It's so important. Oh my goodness. So this was important before the pandemic, right?
Right.
This concept of confirming someone is who they say they are is exceptionally important, right? So you can do a social security trace. You can look up where they live. You can actually they worked or where they went to school. But the challenge we had, even COVID, right, was identity theft and identity misuse, right? So there's a lot of security attacks where people are trying to steal information and use it for nefarious purposes, and so that there's sort of bad actors out there. There's also, and surprisingly, we've been looking at some of the data. Several 100,000 people a year report that their own family and friends might misappropriate their identity for nefarious reasons.
Wow.
And so even before COVID happened, we saw this as a really important thing. We need to confirm that the person is who they say they are. And, and when we want to do that way before we get them into the office for an interview necessarily, because we want to make sure that we're confirming who they are. And we're not wasting our time interviewing people who shouldn't be, right? So that was important, before this all happened. In an environment now where we're doing our interviews like you and I are talking over video conference, how do I really know you're Caitlin? You seem very qualified. You seem very good at your job, but are you really who you say you are? And beyond that, it gets into, I can't physically look at your proof of identity, right? I can't physically look at a passport. I can't physically look at a state or federally issued document to confirm who you are. And so we have continued to invest in tools, technology, automation that allow us to do that programmatically, right? I want to take a photo of the front of your driver's license. I want to take a photo of the back of the driver's license. I want to use technology like liveliness testing, where I'm going to move my face and head and take a series of pictures. And I'm going to use technology, algorithms, advanced learning to make sure that the photo that we're taking matches the photo on the document, and using a wide variety of technologies to ultimately confirm the candidate is who they say they are, which is one thing. And then the second thing is using those data more effectively as part of the background screening process, right? So, there's simple mistakes people make. They might mistype in a social security number. They might mistype an address. They might mistype in their name. We want to ensure that people aren't accidentally making mistakes, right? So because that creates delays, it creates problems. And then for the folks who are trying to do things that are a bit more nefarious, we want to make sure we find those folks and identify them so that we can adequately deal with them and address them before we get into the hiring process. Because that wastes time, it wastes money, and unfortunately, it can create risk for an organization.
Absolutely. So a little bit earlier, you talked about how Sterling was making, particular investments. So in the case of identity, how are we investing in this area? What exactly are we doing?
So there are several investments we're making here. So I think first and foremost in the investments we're making are the ability to capture this information from your mobile phone. Right. So how do you make sure that you can get a great, it seems surprisingly simple, but yet highly complex, which is how do I make sure that the photo I'm taking is a good photo, right? Yeah. It doesn't have weird lighting. It doesn't have shine on it that could impact, downstream data collection. So a lot of work to ensure that just, the photos are good. That's one area we're working. The second area we're working on is using lots of different automated machine learning, different technology to then match programmatically that information to other sources of information. So validating and triangulating those data that we've collected to other data sources to make sure it all matches up. Yeah. And doing a lot of work there to ensure that it works. And then of course, creating lots of different opportunities for us to check in with a candidate, check in with the employer in a way that's really simple and easy that says, hey, for this specific person, we found a problem and we've gone through these different steps, and let's make some choices in a simple way on what we're going to do next. So we've invested a lot of time and energy making that process simpler, easier, and frankly, more accurate.
Yeah, no, and it's great to see too the different areas that we are looking to invest further in. Again, to tie everything back that we've been talking about, over the past 30 minutes or so, just to make everything easier, simplify the experience. So it is very interesting to see that. So to talk about experiences and support directly from Sterling, I do want to talk about our support during COVID-19. So at the height of the pandemic, we were able to show the strength of our organization, and we continued to act as a trusted advisor for many people during this time. So I'd love to know, and I definitely our audience would love to know, can you discuss how we were able to stay up and running and continue to fulfill orders with quick turnaround time still during that height of the pandemic?
Right, and I think this goes back almost to the history of our industry, right?
Yeah.
So this industry started off with people literally walking into a courthouse, walking into a jurisdiction and trying to find information, right? And as the markets progressed, as internet technologies have come to the forefront, a lot of the information has moved from a physical location to a digital location.
Right.
And something that Sterling has invested in for years and always invests in is continuing the automation of that data collection, right? So really, wherever possible, taking out the physical need for someone to go somewhere to get this information and using technology to do that. It's integrating with thousands of different data providers. It's understanding what all the jurisdictions are around the country and around the world, how those jurisdictions provide data, and building technology to access that data as quickly as possible. And the reason we've been able to continue to deliver our high turnaround time, to continue to deliver the high quality, is the investment we have sort of below the waterline, right? To make sure that all of that process is automated. And that is something that we've invested in for years prior to this.
Right.
So such that when this time came in the March, April timeframe, we didn't have to skip a beat, right? We just continue to do what we always do, which is automated collection and ensuring that all the data sources we have are accurate, they're all up and running. And if things change on the side of a data provider, having tools built in that can self-heal and self-correct so that we can continue to deliver the turnaround time with great data. And that's just something that we've been doing for a long time. And it's something that maybe we don't talk about all that often because it's sort of the under part of how this whole process works. But having access to all these data providers and all these sources and collecting data on our own is what's enabled us to maintain the automation levels we have throughout this year.
Yeah, no, and that's great. I know when I started at Sterling, a little over a year ago, the whole idea of the court runner was the most intriguing thing to me. I loved learning about it. I thought it was great. And again, it's just something that, really made Sterling shine, in my opinion, gathering those data sources and things like that. And, to all the points you just made, it truly was amazing to see, and even still now, the support that we are providing, during the height of the pandemic, as we're moving forward now. So all of that great stuff. So we have had such a great conversation so far. So I do want to pause for a moment and let our audience that is watching know, please, ask your questions to Justin if you have any during this time. So as we wait for any potential questions that come in for you, do you have any final thoughts as we close out the conversation? And then, what could, we gave people a little sneak peek, but what do you want people to look forward to next week at HR Tech?
Well, I think it's really interesting for us to talk about. I want to come back to a core value of ours, Caitlin, which is the client's always in the room, right? This is something that is near and dear to our heart. When we think about what we're building, we think about what we're automating, we think about what we're trying to simplify. We often think about is a client sitting next to us in the room, and what would they think? So that's the kind of a core value of ours. Right. But even to put a finer point on it, we're in the same spot as everyone on this call is, right? We've had to move almost the entirety of our organization to work from home, to work remotely. We've had to go through the challenges of Zoom meetings and how do you hire remotely in this environment? How do you deal with I-9 and make sure that process works smoothly? So as much as we are providing background screening services and verification and drug and health screening services, we're using them and we're living in the world that everyone else is. So when we had to move all of our company remote, we understand and understood the pain and the challenges that everyone else is having. So we're with you
Yeah.
we're with you in this journey. And, I think as much as the clients in the room, we're in the room with you too. And we know the challenges that are happening now. And we know how, in many cases, we're being asked to do more with less. We're being asked to do things fast, more simply, because we have to do it ourselves. And we bring that to our work every day, Caitlin.
Yeah. I love that. That was truly such a great way to wrap up this conversation. So again, we will be at HR Tech next week from October 27th to October 30th. Please visit our virtual booth. We have a great amount of assets. A lot of what we discussed today, you'll get even more detail, more information on at our virtual booth. You can book meetings with us. We are doing a $250 American Express gift card raffle. We're also giving away gift cards when you book a meeting with us. So please, 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 we want to see you. We want to talk to you virtually. We know it's a little different this year, but we still want to see you and we want to interact with you. So again, Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to our audience for tuning in on a Friday afternoon. I do hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And we will catch you next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern for our next episode of Sterling Live.
Hey, Caitlin, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. And good seeing your apartment there, your house.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.